Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago Town News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Let's take a look at the headlines. CARICOM leaders discuss free movement of citizens within the region. Caribbean Airlines hands over its restructuring report to the Minister of Finance. And the Minister of the People and Social Development says help is still available for Diego Martin flood victims. Thank you for joining us. Discussions on the free movement of citizens within CARICOM is the focus among regional leaders. CARICOM Chairman and Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar addressed the issue during a press conference.
CARICOM leaders have converged here in Trinidad and Tobago to discuss the issue of regional transport with Chairman of the Community, Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar. The talks comes after the 34th Heads of Government meeting were held earlier this year, which highlighted the issue of making transport within the region easier and more accessible and affordable. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar says the move will also seek to look at maritime transport within the region.
We also want this Transportation Commission to look at maritime transport as well. So there will be two working groups. One will be looking at the air transportation and the other one for marine transportation. We would source personnel from within our various countries to be who would represent us, and we would also have representatives from the CTO, I believe, SJ, CTO, and you mentioned one other organization, a private sector organization involved in the maritime industry.
The meeting included the Prime Ministers of Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar outlined several other member states who have expressed interest in easier air transport utilizing Caribbean Airlines.
We agreed that the Transportation Commission be established, and this commission would comprise the member states of Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Suriname, and Antigua, as well as the Bahamas and Dominica. These being the countries who have ownership of airlines, the Suriname Airways, Caribbean Airlines, Liat, and Bahamas Air.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves expressed his views on the issue and commended the move to remove the fuel subsidy from Caribbean Airlines flights.
The subsidy to Caribbean Airlines was contrary to the Multilateral Air Services Agreement and the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. The subsidy has been removed, so there's now a level playing field.
Other areas which were discussed during the meeting included the issue of reparation. It's expected that February next year, research will be presented by CARICOM Secretariat members on the issue. Caribbean states endured slavery for years, having been the destination for the slave trade under colonial rule. Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar says through this, it is hoped that some kind of restoration will be brought to the Caribbean community.
It is not an area in which we intend to venture into in a confrontational manner, but there will be diplomatic rules of engagement as we seek to as Prime Minister has put it, to repair the damage that would have been done to our countries here through the slave trade and through slavery. And the intention is that it will benefit everyone in the state, in whichever CARICOM state. Every person will benefit, because it is not that it is seeking compensation per person, but it is seeking compensation to repair the society, to repair the country, so that every member, every citizen of our lands will benefit should we be successful in this bid to have reparations for the slave trade and for slavery.
During the 34th Heads of Government meeting in July, regional leaders highlighted these areas as key focus areas, including the need to pay special attention to persons living with disabilities while ensuring fundamental rights to access resources in an equitable way is provided. Kimberly Calawan, News 4.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar says the Caribbean region has commenced discussions on the issue of decriminalizing marijuana in the region. She addressed the matter during a press conference following the 27th meeting of the CARICOM Bureau at the Parliament Building.
Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar says CARICOM leaders are looking at the possibility of decriminalizing the use of marijuana for medical purposes. The comment comes one day after Chief Justice Ivor Archie suggested the move during the opening of this year's law term. While the three CARICOM members are said to be in talks, including Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar says much research and consultations must occur first before any final decisions are made.
This is a topic that has come into the public domain. I am advised that 16 states in the United States, in fact, have marijuana, cannabis for medical health purposes. But we were of the view in our prelim discussion today that we would need much further research. And so we've tasked the CARICOM Secretariat to do research with respect to the medical issues as well as on the legislative issues.
The Prime Minister notes while the issue is a regional one, here at home discussions have already commenced and proposals have been drafted on the matter.
In here in Trinidad and Tobago, our National Drug Council has been addressing the issue of the use of cannabis for medical purposes, and they have developed a concept paper. We will pass that concept paper across to the CARICOM Secretariat for further discussion. So the decision is no decision on that issue, except to say much further research is needed, much more consultation in each of our countries with various stakeholder groups before any further consideration.
Consideration in February.
Privacy is reminding me in February of next year, the CARICOM heads, the research would be presented by the team from the Secretariat.
Within the Caribbean, Puerto Rico has commenced debate on the issue. Marijuana has been legalized in certain U.S. states for the treatment of AIDS, cancer, inflammatory pain, and autoimmune diseases. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
In other news, government will discontinue Caribbean Airlines fuel subsidy on October 1st, and the airline's board has submitted a report to the Finance Ministry that speaks of how it intends to cope with this change.
Minister of Finance and the Economy, Senator the Honorable Larry Hawai, has received the Caribbean Airlines restructuring report from CAL's interim chairman, Philip Marshall. Following the 2014 budget debate on September 9th, Minister Hawai revealed that the report was to be submitted to him by September 17th. As such, on Tuesday, the report was handed over and is expected to explain how the national carrier would undertake a restructuring and management plan for the airline. It will also take into consideration another of the finance minister's budget proposals, the removal of the airline's fuel subsidy. Minister Hawai stated that his technocrats at the ministry will also review the document, and he will subsequently meet with CAL's board to further discuss the report. Once this is completed, the minister will issue a statement in about 2 weeks' time. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
When we come back, educating the public on energy efficiency. Stay with us. The Ministry of Food Production is concerned about improving the environment for farmers. This is the assurance coming from Food Production Minister Senator the Honorable Devant Maharaj.
Minister Maharaj gives the assurance while speaking at a disbursement ceremony for funds being given to Trinidad and Tobago by the European Union to strengthen the agricultural sector. Minister Maharaj says his ministry has initiated 2 programs which he believes will greatly impact farmers and, by extension, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
The Ministry of Food Production is also concerned about improving the environment for farmers of the country, and as a result, 2 initiatives have commenced to improve the environment. One is the implementation of the Environmental Stability Plan, and the other is the Water Management and Irrigation Assessment for the lands formerly under Caroni 1975 Limited.
Minister Maharaj says the ministry has partnered with another state body to implement one of the plans.
Cabinet approved the Environmental Stability Plan, which involved the partnership between the EMA, the Environmental Management Authority, and the Ministry of Food Production to implementing activities that can enhance environmental and the environment of Trinidad and Tobago so that our citizens can live a more healthy and productive life.
Meanwhile, he explains the other project will begin as a pilot project until its findings are reported and a final recommendation can be given on its feasibility.
The water management and irrigation assessment would be initiated in Felicity and then would be extended to other sites that fall under the purview of Caroni 1975 Limited. The Felicity irrigation project would be considered a pilot project, and currently a team of experts are assessing the present situation with respect to drainage, irrigation, development, and ongoing water resource projects in the former sugarcane lands and identifying a range of options for the development for sustainable water management in the facility area with recommendations for the preferred option. Detailed designs and contract documents for irrigation, water supply and delivery, water treatment, and the reuse option drainage infrastructure in the facility area would also be provided.
The Food Production Minister says the plans will all contribute to enhancing the economic viability of farming in Trinidad and Tobago. Gregory McBurney, News 4.
Bring 2 regular bulbs and get 2 energy-efficient bulbs free. This is one of the latest promotions of the Ministry of Energy and Energy Affairs as it seeks to educate the public on energy efficiency.
Residents of Barataria are on their way to achieving a more energy-efficient community. This after the Ministry of Energy and Energy Affairs rolled its light bulb exchange caravan into the area. The third leg of the ministry's National Light Bulb Exchange Initiative took place on Saturday at the Barataria Regional Complex, where residents were invited to exchange 2 incandescent light bulbs for 2 energy-efficient compact fluorescent light bulbs which last longer, use less energy, and costs less in terms of electricity usage. In addition to the light bulb exchange, 25 families were registered for an energy needs assessment of their home, which entitled them to have their most frequently used light bulbs switched to CFLs as part of a study to determine how the new light bulbs affected their light bills.
The whole purpose of this exercise is to get the country aware that this is a good thing for your light bill and for the country, because every time we save energy, every time you switch off a switch to save a light or take off air condition, you're saving the country's natural gas resources, because believe it or not, all this country's electricity is generated from natural gas. So the more we could save natural gas, the longer we'll have it for. It's the more natural gas we'll have available for export. And if we export natural gas, we earn foreign exchange, and we keep this beautiful country's economy ticking very positively into the future.
The Honourable Minister noted that it was his government's policy to pursue an agenda for energy conservation and energy efficiency. He also highlighted the fact that Trinidad and Tobago offers the cheapest fuel to its citizens in the entire hemisphere after Venezuela. Minister Ramnarayan explained that this country has changed greatly in the past 20 years and its citizens now enjoy a better standard of living that requires electricity and energy to maintain.
We've held the energy sector we've stabilized it in the last 2.5 years. We've put it back on a growth path. It is doing very well. The lights are on in Trinidad and Tobago very efficiently and reliably. And we enjoy one of the highest standards of living in the Americas, in this part of the world, because we have a very strong, robust energy sector. So to allow us to preserve that for as long as possible, turn off the light if you're not using it, close the fridge, clean the fridge, because sometimes you have all kind of old cabbage in the fridge that shouldn't be there, that you could throw away. And it requires energy to keep that rotten cabbage cool. So if you throw it away, the fridge will require less energy. So there are things you could do at home. Sometimes you do not have to keep the air conditioner on all day. You could open the window and so on. And what we are trying to drive home here today is switch to the compact fluorescent lamp. It will greatly reduce your electricity bill.
The residents were privy to a presentation that gave them a better understanding of the local energy sector and the various ways in which they could positively contribute to its conservation. Even local comedian Philo gave them some advice and entertainment. The pilot outreach activity will be taken to communities throughout Trinidad and Tobago to encourage energy-efficient lifestyles. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Minister of the People and Social Development, Dr. the Honourable Glenn Ramadasing, took his Direct Effect campaign to the people of Cashew Gardens in his constituency, where he underscored that flood victims of Diego Martin will continue to receive help. The Ministry of the People and Social Development's Direct Impact project is geared toward taking services to the people.
Speaking to reporters during his tour in and around the Cashew Gardens, Minister of the People and Social Development Dr. Glenn Ramadasing says help continues to be available to residents affected by floods in the Diego Martin area.
We were out there as early as 4 o'clock. I myself received a call very early in the morning from the Minister of Justice, who lives in the area, Mr. Emmanuel George, Minister. And we sent down a team there as early as 6:30. They were on the ground. And by 10 o'clock, we had a full team in place in Diego Martin. I visited just about 4:30 in the afternoon, where I saw some devastation to several homes.
The minister says his ministry was able to provide urgent food support and other supplies to flood victims. He adds that his team will continue to tour flood-affected areas and will do all in their power to bring relief. Dr. Glenn Ramadasing also made some proposals to the residents.
Well, in some cases, we want to really recommend that the persons move from those areas because they are flood-prone. They are basically in basins outside of the river. The highway is higher than the houses, so the water actually pours into the houses. So there may be cases like that. But in Diego Martin, it is prone to that because of the use of land in the area. And sometimes persons have built in areas that, it may not have been the wisest place to build. So the Diego Martin Regional Corporation may want to examine no-build zones and to take steps to ensure that the area is always properly drained.
Minister Ramadasing says his walkabout in Cashew Gardens is geared toward meeting the people in the community and listening to their concerns.
To touch base with the community, to hear the views of the people, to hear some of their aspirations, their hopes, some of the constructive criticisms that they may have to share with us, and some of the plans for the community. We will talk about them together.
The minister was accompanied by the councillor for the area, Mrs. Sandra Abdul, and a team from the Ministry of the People and Social Development. Dr. Glenn Ramadasing spoke to hundreds of residents who sought to access various services in the community. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
When we come back with Sport Report, stay with us. The refurbishment of recreational facilities is on the top priority, and the government of Trinidad and Tobago has initiated projects throughout the nation to upgrade a number of recreational and sporting arenas. One of the agencies which manage these projects is the East Port of Spain Development Company. Wayne Cunningham spoke with the managing director, Dr. Deborah Thomas, about her company's mandate.
The East Port of Spain Development Company recently completed the first phase of restoration works at the popular Coconut Drive Recreation Ground in Mova. Dr. Deborah Thomas is the managing director of the company, which firmly believes in the power of sport.
The East Port of Spain Development Company believes firmly that sport can be used as a tool for social and economic development, and we see it as an important avenue for engaging young people. So the company has plans, as we have developed our model for sustainable communities, we recognize that depending on the size, the population of the community, there are certain levels of sport facilities that should exist. So what we're trying to do is to provide those facilities where they do not now exist, or where they do, to do some form of upgrading of the existing facilities to make sure that people can use the facilities properly, that they're all the necessary services and support services for them to be able to use the field, including sometimes putting lights because they want to be able to use it all hours.
The company has further plans for the communities of Mova and East Port of Spain.
One of the areas that we want to work on next is the Mova Savannah. So that's on the plans. Hopefully, if we get the money, we'll be starting some work on that in the next financial year as well. So just Mova Savannah across the way. We have plans for upgrading the recreation ground and doing a pavilion at the Beetham Phase 2 recreation ground. There's several others in other communities. At Jacobin Street, also in Mova, we are working on the second phase of a project that we did there already. So we're putting in a children's play park. We want to do a children's play park in Sealots as well. And there's several communities in which we've identified. It's just a matter of rolling them out, not necessarily in this coming financial year, but as we go forward.
Dr. Thomas and her team are constantly liaising with the communities to ensure the desired projects are undertaken.
But we've had a history of consultation and engaging the communities. We also have established a number of community working groups in each of the communities that we serve that are in East Port of Spain. So we engage with them to just find out what they need, and then that factors into our development program. Once we talk to the communities, find out what their needs are, then that is what guides us as we develop our program of works within the communities. So they will be hearing from us as we are always on the ground in the communities.
Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
News 4 continues after the break. Stay with us. If it's any event which showcases science innovation, which celebrates and promotes young people in Trinidad and Tobago, then the Nihir Science Music Video Competition Award Ceremony is one such event. Initially launched in 2012, this competition challenges teens between the ages of 14 to 28 to create music videos of their own that display the central role of science and technology.
The event covers a diverse range of hot and engaging topics, ranging from climate change and sustainability to noise pollution and renewable energy and food security, all executed against the backdrop of various musical genres.
We commend your tremendous efforts, and we really mean it when we say that everyone who took part is a winner. Whether or not you are among the prize winners, there can be no losers or losing in any attempt to produce creative and educational material. It would have been a rich learning experience for everyone who has taken part, an opportunity to improve your knowledge and skills in a range of areas.
News 4 understands that the videos have been placed on Nihir's YouTube social media channel to engage a broad range of viewers, including non-traditional audiences and viewers.
Nihir's has been in the business of popularizing science for the past 20 years. So we know from our experience that communicating scientific concepts and knowledge requires more appealing or comprehensible make it comprehensible to the average person, I beg your pardon, is very challenging.
For the very first time this year, there is a People's Choice Award with the public voting on Facebook for their favorite video. This has proven to be quite popular with over 25,000 persons casting their votes, says Miss Christiana Francois, who gave the judges' remarks.
It's that it was hard to judge. The entries were very creative and the standard was pretty high. In fact, I would like to quote one participant when he saw all the videos posted on Nihir's Facebook page for the popular choice. He said, "I must say the competition is epic this year. Like, wow, the judges have it real hard this year, boy." So I think, yes, we did. He summed it up, and I think a lot of people felt similarly.
Delivering remarks also was Nihir's Secretary Ray Sandy, who says the participants also got to collaborate in groups to apply problem-solving skills and 21st century competences like critical thinking, global awareness, and information and communication skills.
Scientific advances have changed and are still changing our offices, our farms, our homes, schools, and streets. The smartphone in your pocket contains such advanced technology that it boggles the mind, replacing the television for breaking news.
For 2 decades, Nihirst has served as a center for the evaluation of science, technology, and innovation in the minds of the population, especially our youth. The annual Science Tech Fest has been more successful over the years and is now recognized as the largest and longest held science festival in the Caribbean. The Ministry of Science and Technology is actively pursuing corporate community support for other science and technology programs. To keep ourselves at the cutting edge, the ministry believes the citizens must be aware of the critical role that science and technology plays. To nurture our citizens, it says, we must start with our young people, as they will grow up to become leaders, innovators, and decision makers of tomorrow. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of Our News 4 Report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.